Hi everyone and welcome to Curly and Yarny. Here it's Milena and today we'll be weaving with yarn that changes colors. So, yarn that changes colors. This is yarn that is super pretty. I honestly love weaving with that kind of yarn. But there's a little twist to it that we need to really master in order to take the most out of this yarn. So first of all, what do I mean by yarn that changes colors? Yarn that changes colors, I mean yarn that changes colors by itself right on the skein or right on the ball of yarn. So when weaving with that, usually there's almost no color changes to make because everything happens right on the same ball. Often this kind of yarn is referred to as variegated yarn, but there's little subtleties in all those different yarns because there's many kind of yarns like that. So here's one of the first yarn I use here on YouTube. It's the yarn I use in the making of the beginner scarf. So there's a link right there if you want to check it next. So this is what we would call self-stripping yarn because it makes stripes as it unrolls. So basically that's it. While weaving, it's nice because we have the warp and the weft in the same yarn, which could make even a plait effect. So that's one of the kind of yarn. There's the speckled, just like this one, and you see this is what I use to make to knit some projects right now. So this yarn is more like a little splash of colors here and there. So here it's mostly white with a little bit of teal, a little bit of gray, and a little bit of brown. So that's one kind. And there's basically just a variegated yarn, so yarn that changes colors. So those are three balls of the same yarn, but it doesn't look like it from the start because it really changes from pink to purple and to blue. And the change between the three colors are usually very smooth. But today we will not be weaving with any of those yarns. Today we'll be weaving with yarn that would be considered more like gradient because it doesn't change color, it changes tone of the same color. So the color I have, it's teal, which is kind of a mix of blue and green. And so that it goes from very light teal, which is almost white, up to dark teal and smoothly goes back from the dark back to the smooth, not the smooth, but the light teal color. And so for today's project, we'll be weaving a scarf with this yarn. And I actually already made a scarf, just like in a cooking show. And I already have this scarf right here. And when I did the first one, I did a few mistakes. And today we're going to try to avoid those mistakes. So weaving with a yarn like that, it's very nice. As you can see on the final project here, the first scarf I made, it's super nice. The transition right there, it's super, on some places it's smooth, it's nice, but it's easy to make a mistake like I did right there where you see the line with the transition of the color. This happens when we finish one shuttle of yarn and we put yarn on the other shuttle, on the new shuttle. We need to be very careful, and this is what I'm going to show you how to do today. So how to avoid those kind of line in the weaving, the woven project. So to start with, warping, there's nothing special to do there, we can just warp it all. And winding the first shuttle, also there's really nothing too particular there. We just need to wind the yarn on because this first shuttle will just set the tone. It will set the rhythm or the sequence of color for the rest of the project, but there is really nothing too particular. So I will keep on weaving and I'll catch up with you when I'm done weaving with the first shuttle, and I'm going to show you how I wind the yarn on the, well, how I put the yarn on the second shuttle where things really get a little bit more complicated. And if you have questions about this scarf, so if you want to have more, want to know what heddle I use and what is the warp, I will explain it to you at the end of the video because it's not the purpose of this video, but I still want to share this with you, so that's going to be at the end. So stay tuned if you want to know. So welcome back. So as you can see, I've already finished my first shuttle of yarn. So this shuttle is now empty, and that's all I had left from it. And I stopped where the yarn gets very light medium teal. So I will want to keep on going. So when I put new yarn on, I want to make sure that I start with this exact same color, the exact same tone, so that the transition will keep on happening. So to do this, I need a new yarn, a new ball of yarn, and my shuttle. And we need to keep in mind that the first yarn that I put on the shuttle is what I'm gonna weave with at the end of the shuttle. So what I'm gonna weave with at the last. So right now, if I take this ball, I'm gonna wind the very dark tone to it. So this is what I'm gonna be weaving with at the end. So not first. What I'm gonna be weaving with first is what's gonna be what I'm gonna put on the last on the shuttle. So I want to make sure that the last yarn I put on will match exactly this tone right there. It's a bit counterintuitive, but sometimes when I think about it, so what I put in first, what I'm going to weave with last, and what I'm going to put last is what I'm going to weave with first. So I put scotch tape to, when I fix yarn to my shuttle, it's maybe not the best thing, but it works perfect for me. So now I put the yarn on. I'm going to fast forward a little bit right here. It's important to, if you want to maximize your shuttle, it's important to do what I think it's called the 8th figure. So this technique will allow you to put way more yarn on your shuttle than if I were just going from the middle there. I wouldn't be able to put as much as if I do what is called the H shape. So basically, it's important to, when you put yarn, you come from behind the little, the little teeth here. So I go behind, and then I want to go behind the other teeth right there. So I go behind right here, and so on. So what this does is that it maxes out on the side of the heddle. So instead of having a very thick, thick like that heddle with full of yarn that wouldn't fit in the shed, we have just a larger shuttle like that, which usually fits very well into the shed that we create. And with that, there's nothing wrong with doing the other way around, but you would need to put more often new yarn on, and it's not something that we usually like. We don't like having a lot of and then having to deal with the yarn, and then having to like I said, we don't like to change colors so often. That's why I weave with this kind of yarn. So I want to avoid having to put having to change and to put new yarn on very often. Right now I'm at the lightest color, so the lightest tone of the color. We see it right here. I'm right there. So, and where I want to go is where I want to be. It's right there. So at the medium light. So I'm gonna stop when I get to this tone. Always help just to check right here. So now I'm still too light. It's not, so I can keep on winding on a little bit more. So here my goal is not to max out my heddle. I don't want to put as many yarn as I can, just because I want to make sure that I get to the right color. So now I start to see a little bit of the transition. So now right here I am right there at the medium. I have the exact same tone of the color right there. So I'm going to put a little bit more just to make sure that we really have a transition right there. So I'm still at the light tone, at the medium light, so I would put one more. And right there I'm still the same tone, so I'm gonna cut it right there. So I could have put more yarn into my shuttle to really max it out, but I don't want to, because I want to start with this yarn, which is the same tone, the same color that I already have on the loom. As I said, this is the yarn that I put the last on the shuttle, so this is the yarn that I'm gonna weave first on the loom. Welcome back everyone. I've just finished weaving my second shuttle. So now I'm about to wind yarn onto my third shuttle of the project. As expected, I finished weaving with the yarn that was darker. So as this was the yarn I put last on my shuttle, on my second shuttle. Now when I will put yarn onto my third shuttle, I need to make sure that the yarn I put last on it will be dark, so I start weaving with dark tone to maintain the transition that is happening right there. So not to have any line that we don't like. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this yarn, this ball that's almost finished, and from there you can see the first thread I have is pale, so the last yarn I'm going to weave with will be the pale, and in the middle, so where the ball is almost finished, it's the dark tone. So I know that I will be okay with this. I know that I will finish my shuttle with a dark tone, meaning that I will start weaving with the dark tone. So I'm about to do this. And I will keep on weaving the scarf like this, so every time I need to put new yarn on, I will make sure that the sequence I have on the shuttle will match the sequence I have here on the project. And I will keep going like this until the end. Promised, I'm back to tell you all the details about those two scarves so that you could make the same one or similar one at home. So first of all, for the warp, I use alpaca silk yarn. This is the same yarn I use in the project weaving plate. So I still had a lot of leftover yarn from this project. So I managed to make two scarves still from it. So I used the teal color for the first scarf and the gray color for the second. Then for the weft I use, it's a blend of merino and cotton. It's a yarn that was given to me, so I don't know much about it, except that it's very good looking and that it's also super soft. I use my 7.5 heddle, and the reason why is that I wanted this project to be mostly weft face. I wanted really to showcase this beautiful weft yarn. I wanted that we could really embrace the variegating effect, so the colors that change in the weft yarn. This is why I use this, my largest heddle, if you like. So this made that my warp threads are very separated. They're not so close to each other, which allowed for the weft to kind of fill more the place, and this is why we mostly see the weft. We almost don't see the warp threads there. Also, if you want to know more about maybe the dimensions of this scarf, so I warped for a width of 24 inches, which makes 60 centimeters, and the length was 104 inches, which is about 2 meters 60 centimeters. And my goal was to get a 2 meter long scarf. So I wove the scarf until 2 meter 15, which is about 86 centimeters, and then I cut it off the loom, I wet wash it, and afterwards the scarf came out at roughly, after wet finish and all the shrinkage, at roughly 2 meters, so 80 centimeters. So that was a good calculations right there. And the width changed, the width changed a lot after wet finish. So I started with 24 inches, which is about 60 centimeters, and after everything I came up with 18 inches of width, which is about 47 centimeters. So still large, but I was surprised about how much it shrank. So this is pretty much it. Thank you for watching again. This is it for this video. I really hope it helped you. I really hope you enjoy it. And if you haven't done it already, please subscribe to my channel so you will be notified when I make more videos. And see you next time. Have a nice day and a nice weaving.